Everything is in motion. This is one day at a time. Everyone has cancer, and this is where I battle mine. Hey guys, and welcome to episode number 7. 7 in heaven, baby. I've been doing this show for a little bit. It's funny how when you do these shows, I'm only 7 episodes in, but I feel like I've been doing it for a while. Obviously not long enough, but, because we're not even halfway through the story yet. We're in the happy stuff. So let's get cracking on some more of that happy stuff. I am Cody from the Court of Cows, and I, in 2001, had leukemia. If you've been listening to the show, you've heard me say it 6 times before. Let's make that 7. I had leukemia. I was diagnosed with ALL in 2001, and then again in 2005 when I relapsed. So, kind of spoiler alert there. But, we're going to get to it. And over the years, I've had so many people come up to me and tell me how strong I am, how courageous I am for doing what I did. And, I never really saw it. I didn't see where the strength and the courage came from, because all I thought I did was lay there. I mean, what else was there to do? It was this or death, so I'd kind of rather stay alive. And, if death is looking me in the face, I kind of want to be bullheaded and just kind of smile back. I think that's kind of the goth kid in me. I always love the idea. I love people. I love embracing people. I've always wanted to being a goth kid was kind of like being a coin, like you're both sides of the coin at the exact same time. What I mean by that is I love the idea of dressing like freaking goth. So like big old black goth pants, pink, black nail polish. I guess pink is the new black. It was quite a while ago. Really showing my age today. But paint my nails black, earrings, eyeliner with a little streak down the face, like a black tear. Yeah, I do that sometimes. Yeah, get over it. And, ball necklace, really showing my age with that one. And I love the idea of like having my little band of miscreants, my little black sheep, like all the other goth kids, we all hung out. But I loved kind of embracing anyone, no matter how they dressed, because I might dress like a little unorthodox, and I might look a little scary, and the one that you're gonna look at and be like, oh, he's angsty, he's got issues, he's got problems, he's the shadowy heart. No, I kind of like the idea. Like, I love the theatrics of it, and to kind of show the angstiness of it is, I did it just to piss my dad off. How, textbook angsty can you get? But I love the idea that I could dress like that, and then accept anyone, no matter how they dressed. I just preferred to be a little bit more extreme and a little bit more ridiculous in how I looked. That was always more fun to me. But the other side of that coin was that when someone saw me, and I think this came from my dad, when someone saw me and got so angry just because I was standing there, I loved that. So I would just stand there and smile, because they're the ones getting upset. Like, it's not me. I don't know why you're getting so mad. All I'm doing is standing here. And if it pisses you off that much that all I have to do is stand here and hold my ground. I don't have to insult you. I don't have to put it on blast that I'm a goth kid. I don't have to act a certain way. All I got to do is stand here, and you're going to get upset. Well, then I'm not going anywhere. Because you need to see that. I'm basically, you're getting so worked up just because of how someone looks. And that's always been ridiculous, to the point of admirement to me. So, and I think the more extreme of that is, I say that all started with my dad, but I think it started in that hospital bed when, I started getting kind of smug and, not really smug, just spiteful towards death himself, towards the Grim Reaper. Just, he wanted me. I was marked. I was supposed to die. Well, I'm not going to. Not to be an inspiration, but just to say no, because I don't want to. Just to go against the grain a little bit, even in health, and I guess when you get sick, when you get the big C, a lot of people think you're going to die. So I kind of like the idea of not dying. I wasn't planning on getting better. I almost wanted to just stay right there, just holding on by a thread, just to kind of like laugh in the fate, or the face of fate, if you will. So yeah, kind of getting a little deep and a little bit weird right off the go, and we're only 5 minutes in, kids. So, but one thing I did find out a long time ago was that everyone has something in their life, just like I did, that turned them into that. Where I got all spiteful against death himself and just wanted to exist, not to prove, really just to prove a point, just to say no. I didn't have a resolve. I just wanted to be like, no, forget it. I'm not going anywhere. Why? Because you want me to. because this road dictates that I fall and fade away. Well, I'm not going to, and it's not because I have this to live for, that to live for. I'm not going to just because that's what I'm supposed to do. That's what, I like standing in the face of certain things like that. I like standing in the face of sickness and saying, well, sickness, you can't beat me. Not because I'm tough, not because I'm courageous, but just because of the fact that that's what's supposed to happen, is you're supposed to get beat. Well, I'm not going to get beat just because. So that's where it came from for me. And because of that, this show came to be. Who I am as a person has come to fruition. I'm a very compassionate person. I love everyone. I've got this like weird sense about me where I can, you can kind of sense when someone's going through something, and I can sit there in the trenches with really anyone. And, I would have people come up to me and say, hey, my aunt has brain cancer. Can you talk to her? Or, my brother has testicular cancer. Or can you talk to him? Like, no, or like, I made the joke before. I had a friend come up and be like, I was diagnosed with cervical cancer. What advice would you give me? And, I don't have cervicals, so I couldn't tell you in the slightest what to do about it. But what I can, and what I told her is just stay the course. Just exist because you want to exist. Even if no one, even if this diagnosis dictates that you don't make it just despite it. And she came out the other side stronger. I had some friends that went through a domestic dispute. I've talked about one of my friends before that she was beaten in like a very violent domestic abuse where she was literally and genuinely left for dead. He tried to murder her. He beat her within an inch of her life. He was known for this, so she had silent alarms around the house. He broke them all. He broke the phone and, I think took a frying pan to her face. Really, broke her hands so she couldn't use the phone or call for help. Really horrible, horrible situation. And she's not better for it. No, that shouldn't have ever happened to her. But the way I saw that you can take the reins of your life back and you can take control, because you're going to sit there, and we're going to get into this again and again and again, because it was something I've struggled with for many, many years. It wasn't until I am 33 now. It wasn't until I was about 32 that I figured out how to actually fight the feelings of why did this happen to me? What did I do wrong? Did God do this to me? Did I do this to me? Did karma do this to me? Is it because I had a bad appetite? Is it because my parents lived near power lines? Is it because, one of my family members was in a war that happened to be near, and one of the battles was near a nuclear power plant or something? I sat there and tried to reason with it and tried to figure out why it happened to me. And there is no reason. No one deserves the crap that they go through. But the word deserve is man-made. That is something that people have come up with, is that you should get what you deserve. You don't always get what you deserve. Look up at the sky. That sky is the same distance above everyone's head. Don't expect anything to be that fair in this world other than the sky. Because life isn't fair. What we get, and what we can handle. There's the old passage of, we only get, we're only given as much as we can handle. Well, we don't know if we can handle it until we handle it. You don't know you can take on Goliath until after you've taken on Goliath. You don't go in there you go in there hoping for the best, but at the time, Goliath is just at your doorstep when you were just trying to go to work on time or go to school on time. What I'm saying is, like, the big problem in your life that you're going through, went through, or will go through is this big, horrible thing that may end up making you question your mortality. Be it drug abuse, be it physical abuse, be it sexual abuse, be it, maybe, you were the victim of molestation. Molestation. That's not even a word. Molestation. Maybe, someone took advantage of you in a way that, sexually. Honestly, maybe you're just, your sexual preference isn't what you think it should be. Or maybe, and maybe you're dealing with that, or maybe you're dealing with someone in your life that, have taken their own life, and trying to get through it. How you make sense of all of it is you get in front of it, you tell your story, and you talk to someone. Half the time it doesn't even matter who. You need to hear your own voice say how you feel about it, because how we feel about it in our head, because your inner monologue is not you. That's something I've learned, is that your inner monologue, the voice that you carry on that no one else can hear on this planet. No one on this planet can hear it but you. And everybody's got one, But everyone has an inner monologue, and that is not you. If you want to know if that's you or not, speak. Say it, And you'll hear, it'll hit your ear, and it's through the mouth that the Spirit speaks. So you hear it, and when it hits your ear, it doesn't sound right. It doesn't feel right. When you're sitting there thinking, I'm worthless, I'm scum, all these people hate me, you sit there and you get worried no matter how good you're doing. If you're someone like me and you got some insecurities about you, you sit there and think, how long can I carry this on before they realize that I'm worthless, that I'm not actually that good at what I do, that I'm not worth all this time and energy. Something that ended up affecting me in a big way is just after the fact that I had cancer, everyone treated me like the infant in the room. Everyone looked at me like the infant in the room. Like you sit there and look like a puppy or something like that. You look and be like, oh, look how big you're getting, pal. Oh, you're so strong. You're so tough. Look at you go, buddy. And whenever I'd talk to them about something, they'd be like, wow, that's so interesting. Oh, are you okay? And I, stub my toe. Oh, are you okay? Is it your cancer acting up? But yeah, kind of felt babied for a really long time. And I'll be honest, I built up a little bit of a complex just about that. Anytime someone would be talking to me, I'd sit there and worry that this isn't how they really feel. They're tiptoeing around me, because they're worried that I have too much on my plate already. But it just dawned on me because of all that, man, that everyone has their cancer. Everyone has that thing that they're trying to get over in their life. Everyone has that thing that they have to overcome. And I'm not saying you're going to be, your life is going to be a total success on the other side of it. I'm just saying that you are going to be, it's going to turn, once you find meaning behind it, it's going to turn you into the best version of you. And as long as you don't give yourself a voice, you're going to sit there with that stupid inner monologue that's that bitter, the lamest way to call it is stinking thinking, that you're going to sit there making yourself feel real tiny, about an inch tall. And, and basically talking yourself down and thinking, people hate you when you don't know the opinions of others. And honestly, you don't know your own opinion until you start talking. And you might talk and realize, oh my God, I'm an idiot. Look at all the stuff I've accomplished. One thing that bugs me is, I mean, I know you guys probably haven't seen. I mean, some of my close friends have, but in my bedroom, 33 years old, I am a collector. I collect everything. I got like 200 plus old school video games. I got a lot of Mega Man toys. I got a whole wall of Gundams and video game system Gundam model kits. Like really dorky. Got a whole stack of comic books, and I've sat there and looked at that and been like, man, I am still stuck as a 15-year-old. I am surrounded by dorky stuff. And, PJ, he brought me back to life and said, anytime I start getting down on myself about that, I remember what he said. He was like, yeah, and all that stuff in there you bought by working. So how juvenile is it that, this is what you've decided to pay your money on? Everyone's got their thing, and PJ, he's a guy that has dealt with his own demons and dealt with his own problems through life. But that's where I'm going with it, is that everyone has their cancer. Everyone has something that they're trying to get over, that or they're just trying to give meaning to. Because when you have cancer, you don't have it alone. Everyone around you it's a war that starts, and everyone has their own secret battles that they fight, and they all have their own stories. That's why there's, just a few wars, but millions upon millions of people that have their own stories, and books still being written, monuments still being built over soldiers that you can't just throw on the war on terror and it encapsulate everything, because it doesn't. That, and the same thing with getting diagnosed with a terminal illness or going through whatever it is that is questioning your mortality. You end up with drug addiction, someone else is in there with you. You end up going to prison, someone else is in there with you. Everyone has their story. And this is where I fight mine. This is where I put meaning to mine. Because for the longest time, Mama said I'm a rambling man. But for the longest time, I struggled with that. I remember driving around. I remember the street I was driving on here in Broken Arrow. I was driving down 101st and County Line and thinking that maybe if I was a better Christian, God would not have punished me. Which is ridiculous. Because I don't think God punishes like that. Because, so that's a whole rabbit hole in and of itself, which I don't want to get into, because then you start thinking, well, then what did the 3-year-old do that got, cancer to make him have that disease, and why are murderers and rapists, healthy as an ox? Why is Charles Manson, maybe still alive and people don't know? He's up for parole now, why didn't he ever get cancer? So, and, and then you start wondering, okay, well, if it is a karmatic thing, then, what exactly, what's the smallest amount of bad stuff you could do to where you're just under the line of God giving you cancer or not? Because, there has to be a limit if you think about it, if you think that way. But, yeah, this is me. That's how I think. I process. I overanalyze everything. And all in my head, So this is it. Sometimes when I talk, it's just a big jumbled mess, and it only makes sense to me. But hopefully it makes sense to you guys. So, but here's the thing, is that's all kind of my long 20-minute way of telling you what the show's about in a different way, because I don't want to be too repetitious. I want the message to remain the same, that you need to, no matter what you're going through, talk to someone just to hear yourself talk. Start your own show. Write it down. Start a story. Everyone has their own story to tell. I'm not saying to sell it and try to get famous off of it, because honestly, not everyone's a captivating storyteller. But you all have an interesting story. Everyone has a way that they could go about it to kind of give them peace about whatever they've gone through. And whatever they fought. And here's where you get the peace. When you tell the story, someone might hear it. And that someone might really need to hear it. Where you may have anxiety attacks 2 or 3 times a week, but now you recognize them, you've read all the stuff, you've gone through the therapy, and now you know how to work through the anxiety attacks or panic, say panic disorder like I have. And, where you just kind of frequently have anxiety attacks. See, me, I know what it means. I know what it is. And I still need to make a video that, like, my little anxiety walkthrough. But I know how to get through it. But the person who's just now starting to have panic attacks and does not know what's going on, they may not have the tools. I've said it before. I had a dear friend of mine that I'm planning on having on the show later in life. She told me that, and quoting her, is we can have all the tools we need, but ultimately it's our decision. So with that, if you don't have the tools, then it's a lot harder to get through, obviously. But if you know what you're doing, then it's like starting a new job. You sit there and when you've been there for a couple years, you have your own struggles with it, but you can honestly mentally go on autopilot. But let the hands do the work and let the body do the working, and you know exactly what you're doing. And then you see the new kid walk in here, and they have no clue what they've gotten themselves into. They don't know how to do anything. They don't know their butthole from the hole in the ground, and you're getting frustrated because they're so new and they don't know this stuff. They don't know this stuff that has become common sense knowledge to you, and that's what it's all about, is just taking that person to the side. And just not, you don't always have to be like, oh, here's how you get through that. Because here's the thing is not everyone goes through it. Not everyone has the same inner monologue and thought process that you had. What you do is you say, hey, I went through it too. Because that was a big part the first time around in the hospital, is they didn't know whether I had basically children's leukemia or old man leukemia. So they treated me as pediatric. I was in the pediatric wing. And, but at my age, I was like 16, 17. So, all the people around me, my peers were all 6 years old, 6, 7 years old, the oldest, maybe 10, 12. My friends were the older brothers and older sisters of some poor child that's been diagnosed with the same illness, and that we're kind of stuck together. So yeah, I ended up trying to reach out, because this is pre-Facebook, free, like what the world is today, basically, and tried to say, like, if I could talk to anyone that's of my age and that could help me through this whole thing. And not even just to help me through it and tell me exactly what to do. I'm not looking for an FAQ. I'm not looking for a walkthrough or a play-by-play book. I'm just looking for someone that's like maybe around my same age and just going, well, I did it, so it's doable. And I can find that anywhere. Yeah, this is something that I've tried to do for years, but honestly, like, I could never really bring myself to it. Sometimes I remember when I was younger, I really tried hard to like connect with people and like try to get out to the hospitals and like talk to people, but like it kind of freaked me out. Because, like they, all of a sudden these people wanted answers, and I'd be like, well, I don't have any answers. So like, I remember there was this one dude that I went up and hung out with once or twice, and, he wanted me to like burn him this CD and like gave me a list of the songs, and I got so shameful about it because I didn't know like how to help this guy. I didn't know what to do, and I honestly I don't even remember his name, and I can't believe I'm talking about it because it's gonna make me sound so awful. But I didn't know what to do, so I think I talked to him a few more times on the phone, and kind of that was the end of that. Like like me and him just kind of like lost touch, where I could have easily, I knew where he was, I could have gone up to the hospital and hung out with him a few times, But yeah, it wasn't until, later in life where I am now that like I kind of realized that that's kind of my calling, and no one has all the answers because we always change the questions. We always, we always try to figure out what the right question is, and we're not looking for the answer that's true. We're looking for the answer that gives the most comfort. So So it's hard to give answers. So I don't give answers. I just say, hey, I did it, and I'm no expert. I don't have an S on my chest. I don't have a cape on my back. I'm just a dude, you know. So if just some normal kid from Broken Arrow, Oklahoma can do it, then you can do it too. Because, you know, given the opportunity, that's probably what you are. Hopefully I'll reach out and or branch out and get a little bit more popular, because I love giving this message. I love the idea of someone else giving me the message. And one thing I do want to mention is, just based on that, you know, I'm sitting at like maybe 17 to 24 views on this thing, and most of them are probably like my immediate family, like my brother, sister, mother. You know, my mom lives with me, so like there's been times that I've come in the room when she's already like kind of in bed for the night, and I hear my voice on her phone, and you know, like that's cool enough to me. But every single time, every single episode, so 6 times. Not even in the double digits yet, but I've had 6 different people approach me after every episode and like tell me their story or ask what kind of cancer I had. Just this last episode, I had a girl that, again, haven't spoken to in years, and I had to like look her up to make sure it was the same. It was the girl I was thinking it was. But yeah, her son was diagnosed with leukemia, and he's 6, and she didn't know what to do, and just knew her son was in a lot of pain, and I, you know, talked to her as much as I could about it, and didn't say like, okay, well, here's what you can expect. Just said that, hey, you know, you are in a place, you're a mom with a kid that has cancer. That is, it's awful and it's tragic, but as weird as it sounds, it is kind of common in the fact that you have people that are going through it too, that have been going through it longer than you have, and honestly, some of them worse than you have. So you have a support system there. You have a gigantic, world-spanning support system. There are so many different institutes and talking groups just for that. And I love starting it here on my page, you know, because you go to facebook.com/everyonehascancer, and or, you know, go to www.facebook.com/thecourtofcows, and you can get to my page through there. And I want people to tell me their stories. I want people to post their stories if they feel the courage to, you know, because a lot of people don't want their name out there. You know, that's why I use kind of just first names, and sometimes, yes, I do change names because I, you know, don't want to throw anyone under the bus or, like, you know, give them a dirty name, I guess. But yeah, everyone's got their story. You have to excuse me, I got a cat in the room, and she is a talkative girl. But yeah, everyone's got their story, everyone's got their way, and I'd love to hear from you guys. If you want to go to my page, if you want to write here on the good old YouTube channel, if you go to facebook.com/courtofcows, you can find that YouTube channel. Sorry to give you a little wild goose chase, but, you know, through there you can find my channel here, because those guys have been so gracious in giving me a soapbox to stand on, if you will, to tell you my story and to tell you all my stuff about it. But, you know, we spent 30 minutes just kind of ranting, so let's spend 30 minutes actually ranting about a subject. So I hope everyone had a great Thanksgiving. I know I did. I ate and grew a little bit fatter. Very thankful for my family, thankful that I'm here, and, you know, thankful that, you know, I got another year ahead of me, and some more love to give and some more life to live. You know, hopefully within the next year, I'm going to try and get out there and try to become like more of a public speaker, like get a bigger support system. One of the 6 people that have contacted me lately have told me that, hey, look, you know, you're starting a support group, right? And I've said, yeah, that sounds wonderful to me. If I can get people to embrace each other, then that's wonderful. Bless you. And my cat sneezed. Because she's weird, and she's going to be all up in my business because she knows I'm doing something, I guess. But anyways, enough about the cat. Let's throw 30 minutes on the clock, because it is that time to where we can talk about some more stuff. And, this close to Christmas, I am not going to talk about bad stuff. I'm going to talk about the good stuff. We're going to talk about the goodest of the good stuff. Getting friends, getting best friends, getting new family members, as far as, man, I met one dude that started out as a buddy, started out as an enemy, turned into a buddy, ended as a brother. Still my brother today. So let's talk a little about him, and then we're going to get talking about, some of the best 9 months of my life. So, 30 minutes on the clock, let's do this. So, going way back to the high school days of being a goth kid, this is obviously before I had cancer, running around with my little miscreants. There were two... If you're a wrestling fan, then you know what factions or stables are. There were two factions among the goth kids. One were like the goth kids that just really wanted to wear black and not really want to hurt anybody. But there was the group of like metal guys, the real like Pantera loving like tough guys that honestly would beat the snot out of you if they got the opportunity. Oh man, and these guys hated me. They were the real deal as far as, like tough, hard-ass guys. One of them, his name was Adam, and he at one, they all used to play like football together and were just real tough and all about like getting in fights and all that stuff. And, because of football, he ended up starting to go by Train, like they called him A-Train, and which was just a really cool name, because you can't stop a train is the whole thing. And I found out later in life it was kind of a wrestling guy. It was kind of a normal name, but this dude I remember one time we talked recently, and we laughed about this, but I ran down the stairs at school one time. During lunchtime, I came down the stairs, and there they all were. There were all the guys that wanted to fight me, and, all looking scary and stuff. Because Train, dude, he was built like a train. Big Italian dude. Not a greaseball or anything like that. We're not talking Jersey Shore. I mean, like, real Italian, but, like, built like a truck. Like, this dude was he was stout. He was the strongest person I knew. Like, this dude had, gotten in quite a few fights, wasn't really scared of anyone, didn't really have a reason to be, and but always looked good and smelled good. Like, he was classy Italian, and but this isn't the time of being classy. This was the time of being angsty, and we were all being angsty, but he was a little bit tougher than the rest. He was kind of the reason that I avoided that group, because, I might get in a fight with one of them, but Train might get involved. So, yeah, nothing doing. But, man, I remember one time I was coming down the stairs, and, like, there they were, and Train was just, like, sitting on the steps, and I was just like, okay, I guess I'm just going to have to run past him. Not like, ooh, like I'm trying to turn on the light before the boogeyman gets me. Just, like, would just kind of came down, kind of bound down the stairs, and I was like, what's up, guys? I said, what's up? Train stuck his leg out and tried to trip me, and I kind of stumbled and was just like, stumble a little bit there, because I got so scared, because if I was to fall or if I was to act like I knew that it was him, like, actively trying to hurt me, then I would just get hurt some more. But yeah, the funny thing is I, ended up leaving that school for obvious reasons. That whole thing is not really funny. But I guess once I started going to alternative, my buddy David was going there. This is a little bit before I met Andrew, who we talked about last time, and we'll get more on that. But, because Andrew became my best friend, but Train, he became my brother. And it's just so strange how the world works like that, because I don't remember what day it was, what was going on, but I just remember I hated that school for the first 6 weeks until David started going there because he was my friend from the neighborhood. So like once your buddy starts there, you kind of calm down, you kind of get a little bit more comfortable in your own skin. And then Train started going there, and this is a school of about like at maximum 400 people. So there was no ifs, ands, or buts. 400 people seeing every single one of them every day for 9 months of a school season. Yeah, that's you're gonna end up having to talk to each other eventually. So I mean that 400 is really not that much when you put the numbers to it, because that's when it's filled to. That was when it was filled to the brim of filled to capacity. We didn't always run 400 students, and it was alternative. So there were people getting suspended a lot, and coming and going and coming and going. But yeah, Train started going there. And I remember walking by him, and kind of like it was kind of the first time we were sitting in class together, and it was just me and him. And I kind of hoped that he knew about my whole cancer stuff, to kind of like, that was the only person that I was like, okay, am I off limits now? Are you not going to eat me? And because that dude, oh man, you know who Braun Strowman is? Like, if you're a wrestling fan, like, that's how I looked at Train. He's nowhere near that big. I mean, he's just a little bit taller than me. But honestly, like that, he was that intimidating. Like, he just carried a very intimidating, like, aura about him. But I am in class with him one day, and class is about to wrap, and he just looks over at me, and I was like, "What's up, Train?" And our eyes meet, and he asked me if I've ever, to be honest, he asked me if I knew anyone that could get Adderall, because this is when, like, Adderall was going really big. Like, it was, like, the big Adderall boom, and, you've heard the jokes, like, everyone in school is, like, addicted to Adderall. But it was huge at my school at the time, and he, it obviously enjoying it himself, which we're kids, man. But anyway, yeah, like that's a whole other bag of tricks, and I'm kind of giving away the ending. But he asked me if I knew where I could get some. I told him I had no idea, and that led into him talking about the girl he was interested in, and then like before long, he just opens up. This is all the same conversation. Asked me if I know anyone that can get Adderall. I tell him no, and that leads into him being like, "I'm sorry, that was kind of rude, that was brash, but I'm not asking for me. I'm asking for this girl. I really like this girl. I have for a while." And he started telling me about this girl that he was enamored with and had been for years, and I could relate. I was never the fighter. I was always the lover. So I was the love puppy. I was the guy that would have a crush on the same girl that would turn into like a big friend zone, like best friend of a girl. And when it came to the friend zone, I was the mayor of friend zone. Friend Zone City was my city, and I protected it well. And I thought that, if I had a crush on her for 2 years, and, she was talking to me every night about every guy she was with, then eventually she's going to have to realize, because this is a romantic comedy, that, that I'm the right person for her. And sorry, kids, it's just not how it goes in high school. Like, we still have in high school, we have a lot of life to give, and we have a lot of stories to make. So, you may get your chance, you may not, but more than likely you won't if you're the love puppy. But yeah, he was enamored with this girl, and he had made some bad mistakes involving her, and he kind of went down the road that some of us love puppies end up going down. Is like you try to figure out what you can do to make them like you, and she wasn't. She was a very attractive girl. She was very funny. I'm gonna call her Jay. But Jay was pretty fun to be around. But yeah, she had a wild streak about her that, like, sometimes she would be a good kid, but some of the times it was just kind of to show off. And I mean, she came from money, so so a lot of it I thought was just like just pissed daddy off kind of stuff. But yeah, like he really liked her, and that was his everything. And he had made, I'm not going to go into it, but, well, I'm not going to tell you every little detail because it's not mine to tell. Honestly, like, calling her Jay is actually kind of offensive in a weird way. But, and I apologize for it. But, again, we were all kids. I already, told you about some of the stuff I had been up to. But, yeah, he was so enamored. Just went into this story about how he's enamored with this girl. He's he's obviously got an addictive personality. He's dealing with addictions himself, and then that he doesn't know why we didn't get along in high school. And he's sorry that we didn't. And I mean, like, all I did was say hey to him. So like, and all of a sudden, we're talking a lot, and we just have this big, like, kind of all cards on the table conversation that I was just trying to say, hey, there's hello monster in the room. Are you gonna kill me? And he hadn't talked about it. He hadn't talked about like all the stuff he was going through, which to help him save face. I'm not gonna say all of it, but or to save face. Like this man. Kind of feel bad about this episode, but just all the stuff that he was going through, he hadn't opened up about it. He hadn't like let it go. He hadn't reached out to anyone, and this was his first time doing that. So I embraced him. I told him, I'm sorry that's what you're going through, dude. Don't worry about it. We've all been the love puppy. We've all had that hard moment in our lives that we're trying to get through. And you'll get through it. And I'll be with you every step of the way. And what I didn't know is this was going to start a friendship that was just turned into my brother. Andrew, I haven't talked to in a very long time. And yes, that led into some great things. That led into my entire way of life, actually. But with Train, he became my brother. He was a different breed of cat. Like, it was just me and him, no matter where we are, we're always going to love each other. We're always going to care for each other. And, we're never going to judge each other for the things we've done. The things we've said, the problems we've had, because I had to have him on the show because his story alone, God, I cannot wait to have him on the show because he took all of his stuff, later in life, the throes of addiction got a hold of him, and he dealt with drug addiction after drug addiction for the longest time. Around the time I was dealing with, being, addicted to pain pills and stuff, he was, me, I would take like 3 or 4 a day. I think I remember at one point him telling me that he won't even, like, if he can't get like 32 or it was some outrageous number like that, then he won't even get out of bed. Like, it wasn't even worth getting out of bed if he couldn't get some pain pills. But this dude, he ended up getting a hold of it. Whew. Okay, let me collect myself a little bit. Okay, he ended up getting a hold of it. He ended up, he ended up checking himself into rehab and realizing he had a problem. And, at the end of all that, he came out. He started working out a lot. He lost a lot of weight. He really slimmed down. And, he ended up going into wrestling. And, because he was a big WWE fan just like I am, just a nut for wrestling. And he actually went out and did it. Like, he never got to the WWE, but he was here at Compound Wrestling. Look it up. It's awesome. I've been to a few of their shows. And, but you don't know him as Train. You know him probably as his name, as Richie Adams. And I got me a Richie Adams shirt. I've seen him wrestle. The dude's held titles. He recently had a daughter. He got married, and now he's kind of like going back to wrestling a little bit. It's just a really I get glossy eyed anytime I talk about it, because it's just, I remember when this dude he was the type of guy that, he always wanted some kind of pill. Not from me, like he would never like beg for it, but like that was kind of like first priority for the longest time. Heavier set guy, and a lot of the time it was kind of like walking on eggshells around him. Like I particularly remember times that like there were just some things you could not say around him without pissing him off, and he was like Braun Strowman, not really the guy if you saw him, and if you like knew how tough and strong he was. He's not really a guy you wanted to piss off. But yeah, but he turned it around, and I remember when we last spoke, we just joked about it. We joked about all the goofiness and like the hating each other and the problems we went through. I asked him if he had talked to Jay, and in a long time, he said he had talked to her at some point, and she was still going through issues in her life that she was trying to get past. But yeah, that friendship is gonna last eternity, and I love the guy. With all that, really the only person I kept up with at the time from high school was Chris, and Chris was one of the guys with Chris, Chancho, Matt, and all them, and him and Chancho were like best friends. So. And they were both like really into music. I've always been like hardcore into music. My first love is always going to be music. I just want to live behind a microphone. That's what I want to do with my life. That's why I'm, another of the millions of reasons I'm doing this. I've done the stage stuff. I've been the lead singer in a metal band for around like 12 years. Haven't been, as I've gotten older, obviously it's slowed down, but I've been on stage in different parts of the South. Not really anything big. I got a CD. I got a CD. Me and the band I'm in currently have a CD on Spotify, and 2 albums on Amazon. Never signed or anything like that, but that all, like doing all the shows and getting in front of crowds and starting mosh pits and walls of death. Yeah, it's metal. Screaming, singing, screaming some more. That all started with me and Chris, because Chris was a guitarist, and he was a damn good guitarist, and he was in a band called Camilla, I think, and they had changed the name because it sounded too much like Chimera. And again, showing the age, is Chimera was pretty big at the time. Like, not gigantic, but I mean, like, they were kind of like the new breed of metal that was hitting the scene, and they were called Camilla, so they wanted to change the name. Their singer wasn't working out all the time. And I got that big soundboard and wanted to turn my room into a recording studio. So I was singing a lot more. I got like kind of a history in just singing in general with, my mom used to sing in church and all that stuff. So I kind of obviously went the other direction with that, but, yeah, so I've always loved the idea of being behind a microphone, and that's what I want to do. I don't care what I'm doing, be it, stand-up comedy, doing this, doing YouTube shows, or, just really getting down on stage and like just rocking my butt off. I love that. That's me. That's who I am. It makes me come alive. But me and Chris started collaborating on songs because I asked him to, I had wrote anytime I wrote lyrics, a lot of people later in life would I find out, even I sat down with Ben from Breaking Benjamin one time, because not for anything big. They used to do when Breaking Benjamin, way before they got famous, they were in Tulsa for this $3 Thursday thing at this one show, and I went just because I heard Saturate was the only CD out. They weren't Breaking Benjamin, they were these guys that I had just discovered that me and my brother could get into, and I overheard on the radio that they were going to do this $3 Thursday thing, and Breaking Benjamin was going to be on it. So like they, me, Andrew, and my brother went, and I ended up sitting down with him because they were just so cool, and they were like, yeah, we saw you guys rocking out, and I got sat down with them, talked to him, and he was telling me about how like how you write a song is you structure the song and then you write the lyrics and kind of let the song speak to you, and another one was like, I know he's not like a metalhead or anything like that, but Kevin Smith, I mean, like just kind of always doing his own thing and always being one to be like, okay, well, it seems chaotic and weird, but it has structure to it. It has to have some kind of structure to get your message across, and that's kind of what I need to work on now for my show here is a structure. But yeah, like it just that stuff really spoke to me. Is like, let the movie play out and then figure out what you're trying to say with it, that's just that's how I want to live. But before all that, I would write the songs and have a beat in my head, have a way it was going to go, like vocally, and I had it note for note, like how the vocals were going to go, but didn't have a song. So, I mean, it really didn't make any sense because you'd kind of you'd have to write the song around the lyrics, but just amateurish stuff. And this one song I made was called DUI, and it stood for dumb and under influence, because I wanted to be like, I've always wanted to be like inspirational and motivational. This is real telling, to myself even, but yeah, and I asked Chris to, like, I had written something on a guitar, and I wanted him to rewrite it and make it sound good. And, he came over, he writes this song, and, I sing along with it, and I sing the lyrics to it, and, he's like, wow, that really turned out cool sounding, that really turned out good. And, that's, I've always played acoustic guitar. And I've threatened for many, many years to sit down, like crack down and like write all these songs out and get them on recording. It's only like 5 or 6 of them. And, I don't know how long I could go with just like playing acoustic by myself, because I'm kind of out of ideas. I'm not really that good of a musician. I can sing, but, I'm not really that good of a musician. But yeah, like I was like, yeah, I got some of the songs, and some of them I wrote about being in the hospital, and he was like, dude, I'd love to hear him. And, I ended up playing them for him. So, we ended up collaborating. That ended up being, we decided to start a band, and the band was called Seasons After. Now, I know there's a band called Seasons After out there, but we came up with that name first. I mean, obviously, it's kind of like the first one to get signed wins. I never met the guys, don't know any of them from a hole in the wall, but some of their stuff is really, really damn good. But I can't listen to them just because of it. Chris got really into it. Like, he tattooed Seasons After on his forearms, like seasons on one of his forearms and after on the other, and he put them together. I think he's had that covered up now, like gotten a tattoo over it. But yeah, man, like that started. The whole stuff with, man, I'm still not going to get to it on this episode. I kind of rambled on too much about the big three, which is last time it was Andrew, and this time it's Chris and Train. But yeah, like that friendship with me and Chris turned into his parents used to flip houses. So they had 2 houses they owned, and one was the house in Muskogee, and one was the house in Broken Arrow. The house in Muskogee was known as his family just referred to it as the Muskogee house, and but there in BA they referred to that house as the BA house, and just those 3 words, the BA house, 4 words, sorry, they live in infamy because that was the house that rock and roll built. And we lived such a punk rock lifestyle. Like, Chris ended up, being like, hey, I got this house. My parents are going to let me stay in it for a while by myself. Do you want to move in? And, we'll set up all the equipment in the living room. We can have practice, like, every Friday. And, we'll hang out the rest of the week, but, and, like, work on jobs and stuff like that. But every Friday we're going to have practice. And I was like, all right, cool, let's do this. ended up going there, and dude, it lasted all but 9 months. But it was a roller coaster. Like it never turned into like a junkie house or anything like that. So I mean, it ain't no Studio 54. But but man, we would throw down in that house. Like the living room, like all the furniture, whatever furniture we had, were in the bedrooms. The living room was just, that's where all the instruments were, and that's where my big soundboard was. And Chris learned how to use that soundboard, so he'd write some music, and then he'd give the music to me. And he was he was kind of OCD about stuff, so he always wanted his message to come across. So like it took me a while, but like he would just give me the lyrics and be like, hey, here's the lyrics, sing it like this. And really no freedom to do anything. But once we worked together quite a lot, I got him down to him just like handing me a piece of paper with the title on the top that he wanted to have. And at the time that really worked for me, because it gave me something to write about. And and I always tried to think like outside of the box. Like there was this one song called "As We Disintegrate," very metal name, of course. And but how I thought of it was a death, through the eyes of the person dying, and seeing the world disintegrate. So yeah, I mean, just very like metal stuff like that. And but yeah, dude, me and him move into this house a little bit later, a couple months in. Train decides he wants to move out of his parents' house, and he was the only one with like a funny thing was, after he was in the throes of addiction, but you never know, but he was the most stable one there, because all we wanted to do was drink and party, and that's all we did, man. Like we didn't have cable. I think we had 4 movies, and one was Strangeland, that D. Snyder movie, Pulp Fiction, I think The Ring, and Finding Nemo. And I had my PS2 there and all my games. And yeah, dude, I had my old Super Nintendo and regular Nintendo, so like I had those at the house. We would go to video rental places, because those were still around, but they were kind of like, all of them were kind of, obviously rentals were kind of dying down, and especially with like old school video games. So we would go to these places that we knew were shutting down and like rent a crap ton of like old school games, knowing we had no intention of ever returning them. And yeah, like, we didn't help the cause on anything. Like, we'd fill out the application for, like, rentals and, like, change a number here, a number there, and, like, don't give them the right phone number, and then, never come back, go out to the one and, like, way deep into Tulsa or something, and, like, way, like, a town away, and just rent all this stuff and, just be like, yeah. And we did that, and we had, like, a big box, and, like, we'd go to, we'd steal everything we had, man. Like, we'd go to vintage stock and, just, like, stuff video games down our sleeves and movies down our pants and, leave like that. Or, like, kind of, like, like, we were bad, man. Like, like I said, we were not good kids. Even after all my stuff with cancer. Like, I wasn't a good kid, Like, we did all that. We had a room to the side, a little office that, it wasn't called the Smush Room, but it was called another word that is more direct and 3 letters. So also started with an S. And yeah, that was kind of the room that everyone kind of went to, when things got a little too smooth and saucy. There are nights there that live in infamy that I'm not going to talk about. But yeah, I mean, like, I still have a video camera, like an old school, like, handheld camcorder that has a lot of us just kind of kicking it at the BA house and, just loving life. And, yeah, there was a gas station within walking distance, so a lot of the time we just go to that gas station, steal a bunch of hot dogs, and just live off hot dogs. We kind of got a lucky break when Chris's parents bought a Western Sizzlin' in Broken Arrow, which is like a buffet place. So we'd end up, just like buying a buffet meal and like just bringing home a crap ton of food and just kind of living off that and beer. And like, just we do like BYOB. And then like a lot of people were cool about, because if we did a show that night, we'd have an after party, of course. And that was when I was at my game, with the girls, because, that's when I would be like, oh, yeah, you saw me on stage. Yeah, that was no big deal. I do that, all the time. Sometimes when I'm half awake, I don't care about it. It's just part of me. Just real stupid stuff, man. And, oh, there's my timer. But, dude, this is also in the time that Andrew... he was in a hard place with his band. He had a guy in the band that was so hard to work with, and two guys in the band, the lead singer and the drummer, that were so incredibly hard to work with, and he could not get comfortable with it, and I felt bad for him. And I remember this one dude named Ira that I had gone to school with, that he was actually part of our circle, and all you ever heard about the dude is that he was amazing at the drums. Very first local show I ever went to was this band that they were trying to be the most offensive band out there, so of course they were called Evil Satanic Bad Guys, and they were actually really good. They were this punk rock, just three-piece, and it was Chris, it was the first time I saw him on stage, and, well, not on stage, on the side of the pool hall. And, Ira on drums, and he was killing it, but yeah, I got back in contact with Ira, because this is also at the time, this is way before me and PJ's friendship became what it is today, that at this point in me and PJ's friendship, he would just find me every, 3 to 6 weeks, maybe, at worst, maybe every 3 months, he would just find me, and we'd end up, in a conversation that would last, hours. And, then I wouldn't hear from him for a long time. And then, I was Andrew was so, in the thralls of, trying to get his band off the ground that, he was like, dude, I got to get rid of this drummer. I got to get rid of this singer. They never show up. They, they're always causing an issue. And I was like, okay, well, I know Ira. So, I can try and figure out how to get in contact with him. And he was like, okay, cool. And I was like, if you don't have equipment, you guys can come over. And, you can use our equipment. We'll just practice on the same day. Your guys bring your guitars. His guys were these two guys named Keith and Kevin. And they are twins. So I just, everyone just refers to them as the twins. A dude named Trent, who, just that foundational group. When Andrew came in with his guys, which is Trent and the twins... And then, don't really need to talk about the other guys because they ended up, the drummer and the singer of the band, they ended up getting kicked out because, they never showed up, or they would just, they just sucked. That's really mean. But I don't want to say sucked, but really we're not, weren't really going anywhere and causing more issues than they were good. Part of the solution, part of the problem. They were part of the problem. But yeah, I got him in contact with Ira by way of PJ. PJ ended up coming over to the BA house one day and was just like, hey dude, hey, I found you, and I was like, hey, check it out, dude, I got my own place, isn't that nuts? And it's this big house, and look at the freaking living room is just instruments, we do whatever we want here. It's freaking Neverland. It's paradise, it's a metalhead's Neverland. And I asked him, how do I get in contact with Ira? And he was like, well, me and Ira are in a band together. And I was like, oh, I didn't know that. And he was like, yeah, so if he goes anywhere, we're kind of a package deal. And at the time, I was like, man, dude, don't include yourself, and but God, dude, I am so glad he did, because Ira ends up coming over one night. I finally get in contact with Ira. I ask him if he's interested. He says he's interested. And he ends up coming over. They, Trent and Andrew play through one song. And, by the end of it, Ira's just like, okay, cool. And so they play it again, with Ira playing drums to it, and it sounded immaculate. It sounded so freaking badass. And I was blown away by it, because I had heard the song that they were playing, over and over and over. but I haven't. It was with their old drummer who could never really make sense of it. He kind of did blast beats on everything. Like he did a blast beat on the tom, then a blast beat on the snare, then a blast beat on the cymbal and the tom. So it was very like Saint Anger sounding. But when Ira got a hold of it, it had structure, it had feeling, it had energy, and like I remember them sitting there. It looked like Arthur, from like Sword in the Stone. It looked like when he's holding the sword for the first time, they were just blown away by the power that was coming out. Because they were like, "Oh my God, this is what." And I remember like right when the song ended, I was like, "That's what you guys have been playing this whole time? That is amazing. That is so sick, dude." And but yeah, like. Ira asked if, like they ended up asking Ira to come back, and they were like, okay, well, as far as a lyricist, like a lead singer, do you think PJ would have it? And he was like, oh yeah, dude, PJ's amazing. And they're like, okay, well, if you could relate him to anybody, who would it be? And I'm never gonna forget it. He just goes, Lamb of God, and just walks off. To like pack his stuff, because he's in the middle of packing his stuff up, and he just goes, Lamb of God, like it was a dumb question. We're just a bunch of kids, so a lot of us were like, who's Lamb of God? And by the next day, we were all just like, have you ever heard these guys? Wait, this is Randy Blythe, the lead singer? This is what PJ sounds like? Oh God, we gotta get him over here. And dude, he comes over, and Andrew was talking about how, he just wants to find a singer that can do lows and then go right into highs, like if you're not, a metalhead, that's really the obnoxious stuff for you people that don't like metal. That's the real, like, into the, just like really high pitched stuff. Basically what metal is today. But yeah, like he does it flawlessly. And then PJ's always had the superpower where he can like hold out a note for freaking ever. I think his I can't remember. I think his like first like personal record was at least over a minute of holding out a consistent note, and it sounds 60 seconds of just but I mean not like that. I mean like a real like just a real gritty sound. It does not flex one way or the other, and it's incredible to hear him hold it out so long. And it was his forte. Like that was what he was comfortable doing, is just holding it out. He loved getting on stage, and just being like kind of like the scary dude, because he's a pretty hefty guy himself. I mean, he's just like a big 6'2" dude, just built like a freight train, just like just a real stout, like barrel chested guy. If you go to my page, you probably see pictures of him. And that ended up being like PJ came over, and that was kind of all she wrote with as far as that band goes. Like he sang one song. He sang that same song that Ira played to, and just kind of like just shot from the hip and just improv'd it. And I remember looking over at Andrew looking at me, and Andrew like getting big old goosebump, just rocks on his arm, and his hair was standing up on end. Like he was down for it. He was all about it, man. He was so excited. And and that's kind of like that's where it started, like then as of then, like the party was on. Those guys were always at the house. Me and PJ, like we ended up getting like so close to the point that he is my best friend. I love the guy to death, and he's been through a lot with me. The only person that has been through more with me would be my direct family. But that dude see me laugh. That dude see me cry. He see me at my highest. He see me at my lowest. 17 years, man, like that, of, considering him my closest of closest friends. So honestly, I think those are the big three. Is Andrew, I'm sorry. Yeah. Andrew, Train, and PJ. Those are the big three. Because those, Chris, yes, he was in there. And, we'll get to the end of the BA House days another time. Maybe next time. Because we still have a lot to talk about. But those are the three guys, PJ, Andrew, and Train, that, without them in my life, my life would not have, like, as far as like a social life, it would not have become what it was. I would not have had the strength and the courage to get through what I have gone through. And, once in a great while, I'll run into Andrew, and I don't see him as much. Me and him kind of butt heads on a few things every now and then, as far as like opinions and beliefs and all that. But I got an entire circle of friends and loved ones that is all thanks to him introducing me to him. Because it was me and Andrew's friendship. It was me and Andrew saying, sitting there with in school and talking about Devil May Cry, that ended up becoming all the experience I have now on stage. It was that conversation with Train, of him just opening up to me, that led into one of the strongest, just brick house dudes I've ever met, that was going through his own problems, and, kind of shaped who I am today too, just in the fact that, I saw that, you don't have to have a terminal illness to battle your own version of cancer, to battle through your own story, and to come out clean on the other side. You're not going to come out completely clean, but you're going to come out a better version of you. And then, and PJ, he just, he was my brother. Me and him, I brought up the coin earlier today. Me and him were two sides of the same coin. We've said that for a long time. Anytime, he was having a hard time in his life, I was having a hard time in my life. When he was at his happiest, I was at my happiest. Down to, illnesses we've had. Me and him have both, recently he had a shoulder problem and I had a leg problem, and it happened at around the same time. But PJ is always going to be my friend that hits me up, and because this is how it's always been. 6 weeks at tops, maybe a month, at worst, maybe 3 months. And he's going to tell me everything that's been going on with his life, and he's always going to find me, and I'm always going to find him. And that's because that's what we've always done. That's how our friendship has always worked. And man, I wish I had some more time, because I tell you about the very first amazing experience I had with PJ, and it really had to deal with him. Okay, I can't tell the whole story, but maybe me and him can be on here one time. And we'll tell the entire. Well, he can tell the entire story from his perspective, if he wants to do that. I'm not going to push it, but yeah, me and him went to school together. Didn't really talk, but we're just kind of like two outside friends of the same group. Didn't really interact a lot until this one day when what I would find out later, that he stood up to this guy that was bullying him pretty frequently, and that he couldn't take it anymore, and he completely stood up to him and ended up backing the dude in a corner. I don't remember everything of what he said, but I just remember him ending his whole tirade with, "So back off," end quote. And by the end of it, he's got, it starts with him pushing PJ, and I just see PJ whip around and just start, "Dude, leave me alone. Knock it off. You need to stop. I am done with you. Get off my back. You have no idea what I've been through. You don't know where I've been. You do not want to test me. You do not want to be around me." All this stuff. And he's like, "I'm sick of your crap. I'm not taking it anymore. If you see me, go the other direction or look the other way. Otherwise, just don't say a freaking word to me, because I could crush you with a look. So, back off." And yeah, this teacher comes and is like, "PJ, come to the office." And, I ended up having to go to the office too, because I had to make a phone call to, let my mom know I'm walking home, because I loved walking home. And PJ's in there, just kind of, looking pissed off because he got in trouble for it. So I looked over at him and I was just like, "Dude, that was freaking awesome. That was freaking amazing. You completely stood up to him. You completely said enough is enough. You didn't need anyone to do it for you. You stood up for yourself, and you stood your ground. And by the end of it, that dude that was bigger than you was 10 times smaller than you. And oh my God, that was amazing. I'm going to remember that for the rest of my life. Thank you for standing up for yourself." And just ended up hitting him with my speech, and the rest was history. Like, then we were friends. And, he was with me through all my hospital stuff the second time. He's been with me through all the after effects, problems that have occurred because of it in my family, which we'll get on way later down the road. And he's been with me, me and him, how life's gonna end, how this world's gonna end, is me and him sitting on the front porch while Armageddon happens around us. It's just it's just the way it's gonna be, and and there's a spot up in heaven for me and him to work on music forever together. So he's still around, but I'm gonna hang out with that dude for eternity. I'm getting all mushy, but. This is just showing you, like, those are my big three. That's the head of the Cerberus. The three heads of my Cerberus that is my life. Like, the three, like, just freaking metal guys that, just showed me how to be strong. And, and, like, brought such great things into my life. And, from what I understand, Chris has really, like, turned it around, too. And we'll get into that later, but he ended up going down a dark road, but not really a dark road, but me and him, I won't go into it, but now I'm just gonna ramble on a little bit. But me and him had a little bit of a falling out, and and then just kind of went our separate ways. Didn't like just refuse to talk to each other. There was no feud. We just kind of went our separate ways and grew apart. And it's in our later years, though, that he's kind of discovered, we've kind of both discovered that, like, all of that crap just doesn't matter. Like, all the problems, man, like, they're so small compared to, like, the big issues. Like, when you faced the bear, you don't really care about the fox anymore. You don't care about the angry badger when you face the lion. And that's to say that, like, we have the problems in our life that we have bigger fish to fry. And, but at the time, it's all encompassing, like just the problems that we have with each other. But if we knew that these were just little battles in, a war-torn world, that we have no idea the fight that is coming our way, and we're so preoccupied with these dumb little squabbles, that... we're taking our eyes off the big picture. I'm not saying get prepared for war. I'm just saying that cherish each other. And if you can't cherish each other, leave each other be. And because someone, be it there's someone in that person's life that you hate that loves them. Be it their boyfriend, girlfriend, mom, dad, sister, brother, or their freaking dog or their hamster. Someone thinks very, very highly of this person. So just let them have that and just leave them alone. You don't have to say anything bad. You don't even have to be a dick. Just leave them alone. Just don't say. It's the whole old passage, man. Like, how many times have you heard it? Do I even need to say all of it? If you can't say something nice, yeah. But yeah, that's all I have for you today. Next time we are going to get into the twilight of the BA house. But I wanted to leave you guys with some goofy stories with, because here's the thing is, like, I've never been, I'm not one to, I'm no Captain America. I did not do good my entire life. I still don't do good with a lot of the stuff I do, but what I want to do is let all of you guys know that we are flawed, but that doesn't mean we're not capable of great things, and those great things, when we're going through it, may not seem like that great of a thing, but how we give it meaning, how we give it purpose, how we give ourselves purpose, how we give ourselves meaning, is that we reach out to someone who may be going through something similar and say, hey, you can get through it, because look, I'm not clean, I'm not without my scars, but who wants to die without scars, So, that's my story so far of my battles and my wars. I hope my story has helped you. Now go, help someone with yours.